All right, Coach. Welcome back. 2 weeks on the road to open the season. Come back 3-4 and played some good baseball along the way and battled some weather in Sacramento.
Yeah.
What'd you think of your club the first 2 weekends?
Well, I think we're still in the learning stages of learning a little bit more about our club as a whole. Uh, we played three good games with Sac State. I think is a very talented older team. Following weekend after we faced Dillon on Friday night, he throws a no-hitter. So at the time, I was a little disappointed, but he is a good pitcher, and had to give him credit for that. Felt like we're in all three games. We had to rally back, to win a game. Very excited and impressed with our kids. I never felt like in 2 weekends that they ever gave up at any time, and so that part of it was encouraging. It's um, being down at Sac State, we didn't get on the field at all except for game time, so that was a little disappointing. Being able to take some ground balls and some batting practice and let some kids see some fly balls, but in any case, we got to play, so that was a start. Didn't get to play the fourth game, and hitting the cages for 2 or 3 days before I went to LMU. But I saw some good things from all of our kids, and I saw some things that we need and have to improve upon if we're going to be the team that we want to be. And it'll work itself out. A lot of things with throwing strikes, understand your role, connecting the offense, in the batting order. Some of that takes time, and when you haven't been on a field for very much, to be able to work on those things, you can talk about them on the dry erase board and the cages and things like that. But the timing, the execution, the rhythm, the connection of everything needs to be done is happens in game time.
And then you split the series with LMU, and you took two or three from the weekend, based on their weekend rotation, and that was a very good offensive team, and they took two or three from Santa Barbara to start the year. Talk about a couple of maybe the newcomers that you talked about previously, but now you finally got to see them. And Dylan Plouffe, I think, had a hit in 6 of the 7 games, and Andres Alvarez was leading hitter for most of the trip. What did you see from a couple of those newcomers that stood out?
Well, we moved around the batting order from game 1 through game 7, trying to kind of find a little bit more about how to connect runners and hitters and have the right people up when were people on base. And offensively and defensively, I saw some good things from Justin Hare. He played was our shortstop last year, played some first, and just did a tremendous job for 7 games playing left field. Made some great catches, some good throws, and appeared to be really have some power. See the strike zone very well. Compete at the plate. I just felt like he had a good presence about him. We started him out in the 5 or 6 hole the first couple nights, and then moved him to the 3 hole where I felt like it's important for the other team to face him in the first inning. Andres Alvarez is as advertised what we thought he could be here. Tremendous shortstop. He made some plays over the last 7 games that I haven't seen made from a lot of people, and did a very good job at the plate. Sees the ball very well. He's able to kind of find his niche as a skill type hitter, but compete very, very hard. Our first game that we won, I think he had a 12 or 13 pitch AB, and we ended up scoring a run. Real motivator for our whole team to see a kid like that competing and fighting for the next pitch. So really liked what he did. Dylan Plouffe is a freshman, and Dylan started out at second base. Is able to play third. We've trained him to play actually all 3 positions, between third, short, and second. But he has proven that thus far that he can play against left and right-handed pitching. He has proved that he can be a high-end defender, and he's just going to keep getting better and better. We moved him to the leadoff role, the last 3 games, and he took upon it very well. Was able to see pitches, was able to move on the ones that he should, take the ones he shouldn't, and really give us some good information for our next few hitters. And so those are the things we're kind of finding out and tinkering with the lineup there. And then Corey Meyer had a tremendous 7 days at the plate. He moved him up to the 4 hole, and having him and Justin in that 4-5 was pretty darn good. You felt like he had a chance, like something was going to get started. Justin started that 2-out rally with a a hit to left center. Corey follows right back up in the game we won, and so feel good about that. And as we move down the lineup, that's where we've got to do a better job of understanding what pit selection is, what we're trying to do with runners on. So that one's going to be in the works as we go forward. I feel like Andres, Shane Matheny, when he actually had a very good, 2 series. He strained his arm a little bit on the first night, but he was, on a roll, hitting, playing good defense, and so he'll be ready to go this weekend. That'll give us another bat in the lineup, another defender. So, might have to do some things, and where Shane hits in the order because of what he's done this far. And again, it's a work in progress. We've got to help some kids understand, what the role is with runners at second, third, and less than 2 outs. Help them identify a pitch to take, a pitch to get on, to swing at. We've got a couple kids that should be hard ground balls, using their legs, and then we've got a kid should be hitting some fly balls, and so we need to flip that around with those two and get one of them hitting fly balls and the other one hitting ground balls because of their speed and power. So we're just anxious we get to come back and hopefully practice on our field today and get some of those kinks out and talk as a team and be able to move on and get better.
And then on the mound, talk about a couple performances during those 2 weeks. Obviously, Scotty Sunich already with 3 saves and 3 clutch, performances. But you also maybe Cody Anderson and then A.J. Block, a freshman that looked really well in their first 2 performances as Cougs. What do you think?
Yeah, I said it earlier, before we started the season, but I really think our bullpen has a chance to be the cream of the crop. We like what we have in there coming out left and right with Dupree and Rosenstein and Sunich and Neely and Parker McFadden, Mullins. But we like that part of it. Sunich was tremendous. He very composed. Gave up a hit or a walk here and there, but it didn't bother him. Came out, we went up 3 runs in the 9th. The last game that he pitched, and there was a walk and a hit, and didn't faze him. They moved on. And he got 3 outs, and so I feel very good about where we're at right there. AJ Block, he's going to be a good one. He came in for 2 different times and threw a lot of strikes, which was important. And you never know what you're going to get from a freshman. Doesn't matter if he's at the plate or fielding the ball or pitching. They're freshmen. And but he just did a tremendous job. Showed a real plus breaking ball, and he threw strikes. And so that was encouraging. We've got some things we're working through right now. Some with Damon and Walker and Cody Anderson had actually two pretty good starts, but I know the rest of them are better than what they've pitched. So I know that some of it does take time. They haven't thrown to a lot of hitters either this spring, except for games, and so it's going to be we need to improve on that end for sure. I know they are going to, and if we work out some of the kinks that we've got on the offensive side, we're going to be fine. We made some good defensive plays, and we made some plays over the weekend that I really couldn't understand. Throwing the ball to the wrong base, things that you could control, overthrowing the ball to the cuts, and things like those are things you can be under control. And when they come from older kids, they're even more frustrating. If they come from a younger kid, you have to guide them through their thought process. But all in all, we did get to learn from our trip down there in 2 series, 2 quality teams, and anxious to get back on the field and play this weekend.
And then finally a home for at Bailey Brayton Field for the next 2 weekends, starting with the 4-game series against Stephen F. Austin out of Texas. What do you know about them? And then quickly a couple schedule changes.
I've played against Stephen F. Austin for quite a few years now. They typically have older teams, and they have got another one this year. They've got their starters back on the mound. They're going to have, I think, 13, 14 seniors on their roster. So you're going to see a lot of ABs. Team's been together for a long time. They're going to show some power at the plate. They're similar. They like to run as much as they can and use their power, and they're able to use it in Texas very efficiently. So I expect another good, series in regards to aggressiveness by the other team, them trying to steal bases, hit for power, put the ball in play, and pitchers that overall throw strikes, which will be good for us. They're going to be left and right-handed as far as starters, which will give us another opportunity to kind of put together two different lineups to see how things connect as we decide moving forward for Utah Valley, and then we go into Pac-12 play against USC. It's important that we see that. We've decided to move the games up this weekend. The first game on Friday is going to be moved up to 2 p.m., trying to get as much daylight and use the sun as much as possible. And then our Saturday doubleheader is going to start at noon instead of, I believe, 2. And Sunday right now is going to stay at 1 p.m. So that's where we're at right now.
Coach, how would you say Ryan Walker, through his first 2 starts, has sort of handled that transition moving from the bullpen to starting regularly?
I don't think Ryan handled it the way that he'd like to. I know there's more in there. He threw a lot of strikes, left the ball up a little bit, kind of flattened out a little bit. Him and Spence have been working together since the last outing to, with a couple bullpens and finger placement on the baseball to get that back right. But I'm not worried about him. I mean, he's his intent and everything he does. He's going to be back, at some point, doing what he can do on the mound and really help us.
It seems like the team had a lot of success these first 2 weekends using Plu at third base, Andres at shortstop, and then Ryan Ramsauer at second base, particularly offensively. Is that sort of formation in the infield somewhat resembling what you might expect the final product to be moving into conference play 2 weeks from now?
Well, one of the reasons Plu was at third and Ryan was at second is because Shane had strained his arm. And so I just think that having that flexibility really helps us. You've got, Ryan Ramsauer has got to be a skill-type hitter for us, skill-type player. He shows some grit defensively. He knows what he's doing. He knows where he needs to be on cuts and relays and bunts, and he fields all the balls. And so, he had a double squeeze this last weekend that he was the, one who placed that bunt in the perfect spot. So I think I've got a good, at least that group of guys. Plu's very flexible to move from, if I had to play him at short, I could. And he's training, ready to go, but at least having those options are all pretty good. Right now, Rudkin is going to play first. We might work with another player on being able to do that as well, just to give us another option and train them in another area. But that looks pretty close to, thus far what it's going to look like.